Tanzania. What do you know about Tanzania?
It's in Africa.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Me too. Good. So you know it's in Africa. What else do you know?
Do we know anything else about Tanzania?
I don't think so.
The desert is close to it.
That's good. Yeah, that's true. The desert is close. It has some desert. In fact, let me pull it up on Google Maps. I will share my screen. And zoom all the way out from Taiwan. And we'll look at Africa. And you can see it's not quite in the desert like Morocco was. Morocco is very much in the desert. Tanzania is down here. So it's got a good bit of green and it has some desert. Let's switch the view to satellite so you can see what it looks like. See, not too bad. It's got a lot of green. In fact, there are parts of Africa that have a lot of green, like the Democratic Republic of Congo and a lot of these other countries around here. Tanzania has a little bit of both, and it has a big lake that it shares with Uganda and Kenya. And then it's got this giant mountain, which I don't know if we'll be able to see it here, but the mountain is why I went to Tanzania a couple years ago. And I actually climbed this really big mountain with Uncle Tom and Cheryl and a bunch of my friends. And then I went around to these other stars and saw some animals that I'll show you photos of in the safari, just like the Lion King. And then I went to the city of
We watched the Lion King a couple of days ago.
The new one.
Did you? Did
The
you
Real Life.
because we were going to talk about
We
Tanzania,
watched
or
the
did you watch it because it's fun?
Because it's
We watched the Real Live Lion King.
Okay. What happened in that one? Was it the same as the other ones, or was it different?
no. It's
Same?
very different.
Yeah.
Oh, very
I would
different.
say the storyline is very much the same, but
Okay.
it feels really different because it's live action. So
And
Got
they're
it.
different.
And there are different parts.
it's longer than the original, so they fill some stuff.
Have they done a Lion King on ice? That would be fun to see, like giraffes and zebras skating around.
I don't know, probably because they do.
That would be
everything.
weird, but why not?
Yeah.
All right. So Tanzania is kind of an average-sized country for Africa. It's not the biggest country, and it's not the smallest country. It's right in the middle, and it's about 2 times the size of Taiwan. This is from 15 years ago, but it's bigger than what it shows here. But it's about twice the population of Taiwan. So the U.S. is like 8 to 10 times the size of Tanzania. So it's not a small country, and it's not a big country. This is the flag of Tanzania. Now, did you know that all flags have colors and designs for a specific purpose or meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know what the flag of Tanzania represents? Yeah, Hayden, you know?
Since half of it is green and half of it is blue, the blue part is water and the green part is the earth.
That's actually right. And do you know what the black and the yellow are?
The black and the yellow are the mountains.
Good guess. The yellow is kind of related to the mountains. The yellow is for like the natural resources and the minerals in the ground. So you can find those in the mountains, but it's the things that they pull out of the ground to make buildings and stuff like that. And then the black actually represents the people, because most of the people in Tanzania have black skin.
Cool.
And most of the people in Tanzania live in rural areas. So they live all the way out in fields. Actually, 90% of the population lives out in rural areas. So it's very different from the US, where a lot of people live in big cities. In Tanzania, they don't have many big cities. Instead, they live in little houses out in the fields where they grow their own food, and for the most part, they're pretty sort of, they have lots of little small communities with, one school where everyone in the town goes and a couple places to eat, and it's not like a big crazy city. They have some cities, but not too many. And they have animals like elephant zebras
Wait, they actually do?
and zebra rhinos
They do? They actually
and
do?
elephant giraffes. Zebras.
You saw those? How did you make them?
And duck elephants.
Did you make those? Or
I did
you
not make them. I did see some of these animals though. So they have giraffes, and they have zebras, and they have elephants, and they have lions. They have all kinds of animals, and they are enormous. They're huge animals. You walk around and you think they're like dinosaurs or something. They're huge.
Do they have ducks?
I think they have ducks too.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we're back.
Yeah, all good. So,
Oh, this picture looks like the one in the Lion King.
It does, the silhouette one.
Did you create those animals to be funny?
I didn't create the animals to be funny, but I found pictures of them to be funny.
Wait, they make them. They make
In a
them.
silly way. They're not real animals.
Yeah, they aren't real. People will find photos and they'll combine two of them using different art and technology. They morph them. They call them hybrids. So one of the crazy things I saw when I was in Tanzania is I saw a cheetah, just like this one, jump. Actually, there were two cheetahs. They went into a field of gazelles. So you see this picture here with like tons and tons of animals. This is really common in the fields of Tanzania where there's tons of them out there because most of the animals, they actually don't attack each other. Most of them eat plants. So they're all eating the grass and minding their own business and being friends to one another. But every now and then, an animal that eats other animals, like the cheetah, comes around. And these two cheetahs dashed into the field of gazelles, and they chased one, and they chased it and chased it and chased it until it got so tired it fell down, and they ate dinner. They ate a gazelle, and I watched it happen. It was crazy. I have a video of it.
Ugh.
Can we see it?
Yeah.
I don't have it right now, but I can show you someday. And one of the things that's
it right now.
fun is, do you know what the language of Tanzania is?
No.
It's called Swahili. And you actually know some words from Swahili. Do you know how you know them?
No.
The Lion King. So the animals in the Lion King, all of their names are Swahili words. So Simba means lion. And Rafiki means friend. And Pumbaa means foolish or silly or stupid. But there's lots and lots of different Swahili words in the Lion King, like Hakuna Matata. Those are actual words in Swahili. It means no worries.
That's cool, huh? They're not just made up words.
I don't like that picture. I like the
You
real
don't like it?
picture. I like the real movie better than that.
That's okay. And in addition to Swahili, a lot of people in Tanzania also, oh wait, that's my next thing. A lot of people in Tanzania also speak English. There's two official languages. They both speak Swahili and they speak English. And that's because the United Kingdom, Britain, which is a country up in Europe, maybe you already know about the United Kingdom. It owned Tanzania for a while. So you know how we've been talking about how certain countries have owned other countries for times? The United Kingdom, which is up here, it had sent people down and it owned Tanzania for a while. So they taught a lot of the people English, so now they know English and Swahili. They learn both.
Cool.
Do you know how many languages there are in the U.S.?
So many.
So
But
many
English-
is right.
But English is like,
430.
whoa. I didn't know there were that many languages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
A lot of them
probably-
are only spoken by very small groups, and a lot of them can be really similar. But because the U.S. has people from all over the world, and there's so many languages all over the world, lots of little small communities speak different languages. So almost every language can be found in the U.S.
Well, like, what languages cannot be found in the U.S.?
That's a good question. I could probably do some research, but they're probably really, really small villages in parts of the world that I've never been to that speak other languages. Most everyone's going to be in the U.S. Another thing that's interesting to know is I mentioned that 90% of the population in Tanzania lives in rural areas, right? Well, they wear really, really colorful clothes like this. And they have very different culture and very different customs. They like to wear a lot of face paint. Sometimes they'll wear funny things around their necks or around their heads. Sometimes, you know, they'll wear a lot of jewelry, lots and
I've
lots
seen
of different
Most
things.
of them.
And one of the things that the men do is the men all learn to be warriors because they all live out in these fields where at any time, you know, an elephant zebra could approach them, or an elephant duck could approach them, and those are really big animals. Or, you know, a cheetah or a lion or any different kind of animal that might be hungry. And so they all learn how to fight, and they all carry, well, not all of them, but a lot of them carry spears so that they can defend themselves.
What if the men don't want? What if the men don't want to do it?
I'm not sure. My understanding is that they all have to. It's part of their culture. It's just like in the U.S. All children go to school. There, all the women in the rural areas learn how to farm, and all of the men learn how to fight. I'm sure that's not the only things they do. They go to school as well.
You have to be a farmer.
A farmer. I could learn that.
Yeah.
And Daddy has to be a farmer.
Farming is a very important job.
Yeah,
It
it's true.
is.
Otherwise, we would have a hard time finding enough food to eat.
Yeah.
People didn't farm.
It's Target.
The foods at the farms are like
Target.
are like the foods that provide every other food that we make.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Free food.
Mommy, look,
Yeah.
it's
I
Target.
know. It looks like Target.
It's Target.
It does look like
It's red
Target, doesn't
and
it?
the Target type symbol.
Yeah. So this
Does
is
this
one of
look like
their cities. Their cities look very different from some of the other cities we've been looking at, don't they?
It's so small.
Exactly.
Like-
Their cities are very small because most
So
of the
small.
people live out in the rural areas. So even the cities, the buildings aren't too big.
Just listen to Uncle Drew.
The main reason people come into the cities is for business. So the big banks or markets to trade things that they've been making out in the fields or collecting out in the fields. There's one big city, and it will look more similar to what you've seen with some of the other countries we've looked at. So it's called Dar es Salaam. So this one's a little bit more like a normal city, but it's the only city in Tanzania that will look similar to a city you might find in the U.S.
Hayden, stop it. I'll make sure.
Can you please get back to your own spot?
You always slide over to my spot.
Ooh. Get your own
What do
spot,
these look
please.
like?
Food.
What
Food?
type of food?
Fruits. Banana.
Bananas.
Exactly. They're red bananas. In Tanzania, they have red bananas. Now, the inside is still yellow, but the peel is red. So it has a different outside and a yellow inside. Actually, the inside has a little bit of redness tint to it as well. And they're usually a little bit sweeter than what you find in the U.S. They taste a little bit different. Yeah. Is your mind blown?
Can I have one of those bananas?
Next time you go to Tanzania, you can.
Yeah, if you go to Tanzania. What I thought was even more interesting than the red bananas, though, was the size of the avocados. They're enormous. They're so big. They're the size of two parents' hands. It's like if you gave one to mommy, it would take 2 of her hands to hold it. It's huge.
The small one is what ours look like, and the big one is what those look like.
Exactly. They have giant avocados, and it's because the weather's so good for cooking or for growing fruits and vegetables. So a lot of the fruits and vegetables they grow are really, really big.
Cool. You would love that, Hayden. You love avocados. Ooh.
They also like to eat a lot of rice and chicken. So rice and chicken, really, really common foods, and some other vegetables. So this
I
is
love
their
rice and
sort of
chicken.
normal basic meal.
That meal looks delicious to me.
They also eat fish and beans. So fish and beans and different sauces.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's good. That's
No.
good. What is
And
that, though?
this is like spinach and some sort of beef or goat, and then potatoes. So those are some of the things they eat. And then this is Mount Kilimanjaro. This was the mountain that I went and I hiked. And it's actually the tallest, what's called freestanding mountain in the world, meaning there's other mountains that are taller, but it's like a mountain on top of a mountain. This one, it just sits by itself in an open field. Like if we look at a photo like this, you can see it just sits there all by itself. So down in the plains, all the animals are there, and then there's just a giant mountain. It used to be a volcano.
That's why there are pictures.
Daddy's went to a volcano.
That's true. I think.
With you.
With you, too.
There were a lot of volcanoes in Iceland.
I was wondering why there was like a huge mountain in the newer Lion King movie.
Yep, that's why. That's why. Oh, I gave away my trick. I was going to ask what you thought their favorite sport was.
Soccer.
Soccer again. Soccer is the favorite sport in most countries. So that's usually a pretty good guess.
But it's called football in all countries except the U.S.
That's true. You know, the U.S. is one of the only countries where soccer is not, or football is not the most popular sport. In the U.S., it's, some people play soccer. People play soccer when they're children or in high school. All throughout school, people play. But then for professional, it's like American football and baseball and basketball. Soccer ends up being a lot less common. But in other countries, they play their whole life.
That's cool.
Cool. What are other sports they play other than soccer?
I don't know. This is the only one I know of. They might play like baseball or maybe some others, but soccer is the only one I know of. So here are a couple of photos from my trip when I was in Tanzania.
Are those tents?
They're tents. We slept outside in tents. So it took us 6 days to walk up to the top of the mountain and then back down. 6 days.
Those are weird tents.
Yeah? How so?
Which one was yours? Which one was yours?
I was in an orange one, so one of these ones.
Who slept in the big red one?
I don't know. That may have been, actually they had tents where people didn't sleep. They had tents just for food and hanging out. So they had little tents that you could sleep in since you don't need a lot of space. You're just laying down. But then they had big ones. So at nighttime you could hang out and be protected from all the bugs.
Cool.
And here's some different photos. It kind of looked like we were on another planet. It was so dry and there were no plants. It was just rock. And you can see the clouds all the way over here. We were above the clouds.
Wow. That's so cool. How are you about the clouds.
So
Well,
high.
You're like an
sometimes, yeah, sometimes mountains, or the earth, it just goes really high up, and you go over the clouds. It's like when you're in a plane. Have you ever been on a plane and been over the
Yeah.
clouds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. There are some areas where the land goes above the clouds too.
You can see. Okay, you're fine. She's not on you now.
And it
I've
was
seen that.
really cold up there.
I've seen
That's
that
right.
picture before.
You have? Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
Mimi and Pops have it.
Yeah, Mimi and Pops have it. What does it
It was
say?
really cold. Mount
Congratulations.
No.
Kilimanjaro.
Congratulations. You are now at peak Tanzania.
It gives.
Numbers. Africa's highest point. World's highest freestanding mountain. One of the world's largest volcanoes. World heritage and wonder of Africa.
Heritage. Really good otherwise.
Yeah, super good.
What does heritage mean?
Like their past and history, part of what's important to them.
Do you recognize these two?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They were there with me. And we saw monkeys. See, in Tanzania, they're just on the side of the road. And sometimes you would see groups of like 40 monkeys. I'm not even kidding. Literally 40 of them walking around. And they're really, really silly. And they like to eat. And so they'll go and they'll sneak into people's houses and steal bananas. I'm not even kidding. They actually do this. Yes. So people like are very careful to close all their doors and lock all their windows so the monkeys won't sneak in and take their food. It's really funny.
Did it sneak in and steal your food?
No, we were
Okay.
staying in the tents, and they don't like to climb mountains. They stay down near the cities where there's more food available.
Tell us more facts about the monkeys.
More facts about the monkeys? I don't know how much more I know. There's a lot of them, and they're silly animals. Very silly. They like bananas. This is one of the red bananas.
See, it has that slight.
It looks a
Right.
little bit orange on the inside.
Whose hand is that?
I think that was Uncle Tom. Here are some of the lions I saw.
How'd you get that close to them?
We were in a big car, and so we were all inside the car, and you can go and take photos out the windows. And they're not scared of us because, you know, the tourists, they just come around and take photos all the time. So the lions are used to it. Now, something that's fun fact about the lions is that the male lions, which have the mane, they're actually really lazy. So they'll just sit around and sit next to trees, and they don't actually go and hunt. The animals that go and hunt are the women lions, the lionesses.
I heard that before.
Me too. That's cool.
The lady lions are much cooler, even though the men have a cool mane. Here's another one of the lions out in the field, and you can see they camouflage because the grass, it's so dry because they don't get much rain there.
Who would like to eat a lion? Is that
No
like
one really eats the lions.
Is that like then why do they need camouflage?
So that they can sneak up on other animals. They eat all the other animals, but they don't. They want to get real close before any of them see them.
Yeah. Now Quinn has a question.
Is that like a middle-aged boy lion?
I think so. It's either middle-aged or it might be a full adult, just a smaller one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because he has a really small mane and
Yeah, it looks a little small. It may have been a
smaller
smaller one. And here's me pointing at the lion.
that's you pointing at yourself.
The lion's behind
There's
him.
a lion in between my finger and my head.
There is. I
Yeah.
don't see it.
I
It's
see it.
camouflage, so you're having a harder time.
I see it.
Oh yeah, I thought that was a pole. It looks
Yeah.
like a pole.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
That looks like a pole.
I saw it the second you toned it.
Now, one of the things you see out in the
Whoa!
plains is animal bones, because the lions and the hyenas, they go around and they eat animals. You
The
probably saw it
elephant-
in The Lion King. There were areas with bones.
Hi.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you see
the
it.
graveyard. The elephant graveyard.
Yep. So I saw the same thing.
Hi. Wait, they have hyenas?
Mhm.
They have hyenas too.
Are hyenas dangerous?
They are. You would not want to meet a hyena. It's kind of like what you would get if you combined a dog and a lion. It's like, imagine a big dog that you would see, but then make it super angry and fierce and sharp teeth like a lion.
A girl one.
They aren't friendly. They
Would
also
you
have
say like-
giant birds. Ostrich. It was so big. It was taller than me.
So cool.
It looks smaller than you. Well,
Yeah, photos can be deceiving. But it was really tall. And they had these giant other birds too. They have all kinds of enormous animals. This one was like basically Hayden's size. This was a bird the size of Hayden. And look how long its beak is. Its beak is like the length of Hayden's entire head, or half her arm.
that's so cool.
Wow,
It was
that's
crazy.
a big one. It's funky looking. Hayden,
Yep.
can you please?
And here's one of the markets where they went and sold vegetables and different foods. This is where I saw the giant avocado.
Hayden, can you please sit down?
Hayden, can you please sit down?
I can't see you.
And that's all I have for today. Any other questions about Tanzania?
No.
I have a question.
What was, okay,
Why are you recording?
why not?
It's cool. I just didn't know if you were recording for a specific purpose.
No, nothing specific. I recorded yesterday too, but I figured
didn't-
it could be fun at some point to have this years down the road.
Yeah.
Wait, why is he recording what?
It just means he's recording his lesson. I thought maybe we were on a group FaceTime the other day and mentioned Jen asked some follow-up questions that you were doing this, and so I wondered if maybe someone had reached out and been like, "Can you do it with us?" Or if you were
Mom had
recording.
mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've mentioned to a few friends that I'm doing this, and they're all like, "Oh, that's so cool. You should do something like the Khan Academy where you do these and you do Around the World with Uncle Drew and put it on YouTube." Which could be super fun, except I'll have other projects I'm working on.
Now
Right.
Hayden has 6 ears.
David did yesterday a
Funny
Khan
is-
Academy Imagineering in a Box.
Oh,
Paired
cool.
it up with Disney, and they did. It's like a ton of stuff. It's geared for middle school and high school,
Yeah.
but there's an applicable part that we can do. So they started envisioning their own theme park. You want to tell them what your themes are? We're not going to talk all about them right now, but just tell them what your theme.
Frozen 2.
Fun.
Frozen 2 theme park, and tell them yours.
Mine's like a forest thing. A magical forest.
Thing. Okay.
A magical forest.
Mhm.
That sounds
Yeah.
fun. What are you guys gonna do this weekend?
You know, just hang out at the house, not see any people.
Right.
Today or tomorrow, will venture out to the grocery store. We haven't been out in a week, so I'll do
Yeah.
that. But we won't do school, so it'll be a lot more kid-driven. What they
Whatever
want
they
to
want.
do.
Right.
We might do a little bit of chores, like clean up the house type stuff, but other than that, it'll be pretty free. And we normally do on Sundays like a family devotions
Yeah.
anyway, so we'll just do like at home church together.
Okay.
That way. But so those will be like our structure things, but in general, it'll just be silly. Like
What
this.
were the lessons learned from the past few days with Taiwan and Japan and Morocco?
Do you guys have a favorite country that he's told you about?
Morocco.
Morocco.
Quinn liking Morocco definitely came out in the paper that she's making. Like she wrote so many things. She has to write 2 or 3, and she wrote like 6 or 7 about Morocco.
Cool.
So, did you have a favorite country? Morocco, Taiwan, Japan, China?
This
Tanzania?
one.
This one?
Yeah, I like this one too.
Which country would
pretty
you
cool.
most like to visit?
Tanzania.
Is it the animals that make you love it so much?
All of them.
Yeah.
Especially the monkeys.
Yeah, the monkeys are pretty cool.
All of
Quinn,
all of
one of the things I don't think I said about Morocco is the language. Do you know what language they speak?
No.
It's called Arabic. It's very different.
It is. Adrian speaks Arabic, actually.
She does.
Yeah,
But she
Let me see if I can show you what it looks like.
She speaks English, yes, but she also speaks Arabic. They also speak a bunch of French in Morocco.
Yeah, they speak
But
both French
the main
and
language
Arabic.
is
But
This is what it looks like.
is the alphabet in Arabic. It looks very different.
It's more similar to like Chinese and Japanese letters than our letters, but it's not that. It's a totally different language.
That's a weird G. I mean, that's a weird Z.
It's cool, huh?
One of them looks
Yeah.
like a Z. Yeah. Yep. And Arabic is, if you think of the movie Aladdin, Aladdin is most similar to Morocco of anything we've looked at. It's not from Morocco. Do you know where it takes place, Rach? Where the setting is?
I'm not actually sure where it's supposed to. No, that's just interesting though. We've seen Mulan's country,
That's
and
China.
we've seen
That is
Lion King.
that's where
Baghdad.
Okay.
That's where Jasmine was living. Yeah, that's the castle
Yeah.
that was filmed where Jasmine was. Probably.
Do you guys know which country we're going to do on Monday?
They don't.
No.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
We're going to learn about Spain.
Cool.
Do you know anything about Spain?
No.
Do you know what continent it's in?
Yes.
What
A
continent,
different
Hayden?
a different one.
It is a different one.
We're moving on again.
Again, Uncle Drew hasn't been as many places in Africa.
Yeah,
As he
those
has
are
in-
the only 2 countries I've been to in Africa. It's Morocco and Tanzania. And I showed you all 3 countries I've been to in Asia too. China, Japan, and Taiwan are the only 3 I've been to. But I've been to a lot of Europe and a lot of South America. So we're going to do 2 countries in Europe and 3 in South America next week.
How's that sound?
Yay!
Yay!
Good. All right.
Coolio.
Thank you.
Are you still recording us?
Yes, he's also recording himself. Look at that teacher.
When you sent us that video of you dancing, it was so weird.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
The one that you sent to, I think of the one that you sent to Shelby and I on Facebook.
Yeah. Do you want to see more videos of me dancing?
Yeah.
Well, if you send me really, really good songs that inspire me to dance, maybe I can record one and send it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll think about that today.
Think about it.
All right. We love you, Uncle Drew.
Bye.
Thanks so much. This has been really super fun.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.